Boom, there we go. Hey. Hello, everyone. How is everybody doing? Let's see. My name's Kurt. I'm a dad who draws, and this is our Wednesday night live portrait class. We always get together every Wednesday night here on the East Coast of the United States, and I take you through a portrait step by step. And I'm happy to see that we've got Pamela Brown from Australia tuning in. Hello, Pamela. If I could, boy, it sure would be fun to get a whole bunch more people all over the globe. That would be remarkable. But it must be morning time there where you're at. So you got up early, 7 o'clock on the next day, I think. Am I right? So it's 7 o'clock on Thursday morning, and you're enjoying a cup of coffee, and you're already at it. So good for you. Helen, how are you? And there's, what else we have? Pamela and Cindy and Paul are here live, so I am happy you all are here. Let's go ahead and get started. If I go too fast, by all means, just hit that little heart button and I'll see it out of the corner of my eye and I'll slow down. If you have a question, just put it in the chat and I should also be able to see that as well. Okay? So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's jump right into this. I think tonight, I want to try and simplify this as much as possible. We're not going to go into a lot of great detail as far as using a system, as far as like Andrew Loomis or Riley or many of these others systems that are out there. But let's just kind of look at it and try and have some fun. Okay, so first of all, let's draw a round object, and I want you to think of this object almost like an orange. We're going to draw this face maybe twice, okay? Do it twice. So there's our orange. And let me get a, let's see, make sure we're good there, okay? I'm going to go with a green here. All right. And on this orange, look, here's the edge of our orange. That's going to be the center line. You see that? Let's kind of just put that into our orange here. So we're going to just kind of drop a center line. Look how that center line feels the curve of the surface. 9 a.m. Thursday in Australia. Nice not to be in the middle of the night. Yeah. If you're in Hawaii, it's a year later. Oh no, it would be, I guess, Europe. All of our friends in Europe are in the middle of the night. Okay, so we got that. Now look at this, and then this might help you a little bit. This is kind of the back of the head. You see that? Right? This is what I would call the corner of the face. The corner of the face will always line up with the temples. So check this out. Look at the distance here to here. You see that? That corner of the face is almost halfway between the two edges. So let's put that in. That's going to help us. So just kind of divide there it is right there. That's the halfway point. That's the corner of your face. So when you're drawing portrait, what I will often recommend that you find the side. Is that right? No, find the side, find the back of the head, okay, and then determine where that corner is. Sometimes that corner will be, if you're looking straight on, that corner is going to be on the side. If you're looking more 3/4, you can see how that changes. So locate that, and I think that will really help you getting the right proportion of your head. All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to get rid of all of that. We'll keep this. We'll keep the center line for right now. All right, look at this. Look at that. There's the brow. There's the eye line, and there is the brow line. There's the top of the head, and there's the bottom. You see that? Let's put that in as well. So I'm just gonna put this in right here as the brow line, and then I'm gonna drop that as my eye line. In fact, I think I'm going to adjust that actually a little bit more. I'm going to move that up a little bit. There. That's what I'm going to do right there. Yeah, we'll just go with that. We might have to make an adjustment, but we'll go with that. So this is going to be my eye line. That's going to be my brow line. Next, look at this. This is your nose. That's the nose, not the nose line, but that is where your nose is. And usually you could go from the brow line to the bottom of the nose and then double that, you get the chin. Let's see how close that is here. So if we take this distance, and it's close, it's not perfect, but let's go ahead in our drawing here, drop this in like that. There's about where the nose is going to go, and we'll double that, and this will be about where her chin is. All right, so let's go ahead and get that nose. Now, when I draw a nose, I often think of the Van Dyke. Van Dyke? I think it's Van Dyke. The Van Dyke Z. I love that. Somebody introduced that concept to me. What that is the Van Dyke Z goes down 1, 2, 3. You see that? That's what you look for when you're using that Z to get your proper proportion. So let's see how we do here. So let me erase this right there. So we're going to kind of come in here, come down there, and then almost straight across. How's that look? Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Okay, let's think of the nose then. All right, so we've got that. Let's add a little bit of shadow underneath our nose. This is going to help determine where the bottom of the nose is. And let's go ahead and put something like, here's the corner of the nose, the nostril, and this, you can kind of see where that lines up to the eye there. So let's just put a little value in here, just like this. Now this line down here is the chin, remember? So our mouth is gonna, look, our mouth is gonna come up here like this. Now look what I've done. I haven't really done anything more than kind of put little markers about where some of these things are. Let's continue this process here of putting, without getting into major detail, just put some small value. Look at that. You haven't even drawn anything, and it's already starting to look like her. Is that amazing? Just some of the easiest lines. I hope you find that easy. I hope you're able to see it. Look at this. Her hair is kind of parted right there. Let's get that proper proportion. Proportion is where things are lining up with each other, and I use my own 4 tools of proportion. I look for things that are vertically lined up. I look for things that are horizontally lined up. I check to see if I have the same shape of a negative shape, and then I use a little thing called a cartoon check. I look at the picture, look at my drawing. Look at the picture, look at my drawing. So let's go ahead and see where this corner of her hair is lining up almost right through her eye there. You see that? Let's just kind of mark that on our page. We're going to come right up to about there, I think. Then look at this kind of negative space here. You see this? Let's put that in as well. So we'll get that kind of shape of the hair. And then then look at this now. This is great looking. This almost comes straight down. You see that? All right, her hair's going to come back here now. And look at this. I'm just kind of blocking this in with shape. And if it doesn't look like her, big deal. Big deal, okay? Your lightness will come with time. Right now, I want you to try and just see the big shapes. All right, let's put a chin in. How about we put a chin in? All right, so we'll just keep these light. Don't go too dark on me yet. Then look at her jowls. Her jowls, like grab some imaginary clay and slap that clay right on those jowls. Look at that. Boom, just like this. And then over here, slap that clay right on those jowls. Okay, look at this. She's got some little fat deposits right there as well. So those are fantastic. We're just gonna like start adding little pockets of clay on our picture here. Look at, she's got some like her wrinkles. She's swollen. And her eyebrows are coming down. So let's just put some clay. Let's pretend like you're adding clay to your orange here. And then of course, right here, you could, if I take my fingers, I could feel my cheekbones. There's my cheekbones right there. And so let's add some cheekbones like this. So she's got her chin now. Let's add. She has that secondary chin almost, that right underneath here like this. We want to have fun with this. Okay, now I think we've got enough. We got enough down here that we could start going into a little detail. So let's start with her eyes. And well, I'll tell you what. Let's start with her nose. Actually, I'm gonna start with the tip, the round ball of the tip of her nose. All right. So there's that, and then she's got her nostrils, and they're sort of flaring out a little bit. Okay, now let's look at this. So now we've got the nostrils. Look, there's the corner of our eyes. You see where those are lining up with our nostrils? So let's see here. This out one here, we'll put a little dot there. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so we'll put a little dot right there. And then the other one is tucked in really, really close, just like this. All right, and let's just come in here now. Her eyes are very small little slits, right? So let's just kind of put a single slit like this. Go to the other side, same thing, just like that. And then look at her look at her pupil. Pupil is like really shoved over just a little bit. So look, just come in here and drop a little pupil just like that. Same thing on the other side. And by the way, this picture comes from, I think, the greatest website for face references in the world. You can't get a better one than this. It's called Earth's World, EARTHS world.com. And it's a photographer who, over the last 10 to 15 years, has gone to fairs and just places all over and just taken scores of candid people outside in these different fairgrounds. And it is the best character-driven pictures you're going to get. And it's fun to practice your portrait by looking at these photos. I mean, I've been looking at them. I've been using his references for, it's got to be for 20 years. Okay, so look what I just did while I was talking. I put that upper eyelid in, and I put the upper eyelid there. Now let's draw the lower eyelid, but with the most minimal amount of work. So all I'm going to do is just put in a shadow. So watch what I do on this eye here. I'm just going to drop in a dark shadow just like that. And then the same thing on the other side. And I'm using the program Procreate. I'm using my Apple Pencil, and here I'll show you what brush I'm using. In fact, it's the only brush I really use in Procreate. It's the 6B pencil, and here's some of the settings that you can. It's pretty factory right out of the box. All right. Okay, let's keep going here. Let me erase these inside areas. Okay, let's go ahead then and put these eyebrows in. Look at this. Just look at that. Just drop it in right there, right the way that you see it. And then look at those wrinkles right here. She's really like, but draw this like bit of clay that you're dropping in on top of this. Don't draw a wrinkle. Draw everything that is causing the wrinkle. You see what I'm saying? I want you to think of, well, what causes that wrinkle? And if you start thinking in that regard, you'll start thinking more three-dimensional. You'll start thinking more in volume when you are drawing. And boy, when we make the transition, look, there's a little bit of shadow there. When you start like making that transition from starting to think of more of mass and volume, wow, you will be surprised at what happens. Now she has some mascara, I see, on her eyelids. So let's just thicken this line up here. We don't have to worry about all those eyelashes. Hey, and by the way, if you like this video, if you're enjoying it, you gotta help me out. You gotta help me out. You gotta like it, and you gotta leave a comment. I don't even want to, I don't even know what to tell you to comment, but just comment. You can say, hey, a dad who draws, this is great. Hey, a dad who draws, my grandmother could do better. Whatever it is, just let me know. Tell me what you had for dinner. We had leftover we had leftover lentil soup with my homemade Italian meatballs. If you want, ask me. Ask me in the comments. I'll put the recipe down. Just comment. Okay, let's keep going here. All right, when I draw lips, I always like I put a little V there. All right, V in the very center here. All right, that's the first thing. So look at the V, and it's small. It's just kind of like that. And then look for the corners. Look for the corners. So here's a corner, and then there's a corner, and there's our V. You see that? Look at where the corners are lined. Look, the corner's lining up almost with her pupil. Same thing on this side over here. And that's a general proportion. The corners of the mouth line up with the pupils. So let's see. There's our pupil. So we'll just kind of come down here. You have 3 deer in your backyard. Wow. There's a corner right there. How wonderful. Take a picture, Helen. Or no, you're drawing right now. Don't take a picture. But I'd love to see it. I'd love to see that. We used to live in a state called Maryland, and our backyard. Look at this. Look at this lip here. This lip is really. It's rounded because she's like bitter. So get those lips right. Turn those lips up. Yeah, we lived up next to this kind of nature reserve, so we would get deer. Oh man, I loved it. I sure miss those days. Look, the center line underneath her upper lip there is like this little straight line. Do you see that? And then the bottom just kind of comes up here like this. All right, and look at this. Now, one thing you got to do here, this is really important, is come in here and drop a quick little tone. Drop a quick tone underneath those, on that upper lip there. And I'll just restate this again. Don't overthink this. Don't worry if yours doesn't look like her. I don't care. You have to remember, drawing portraits is one of the hardest things to do. And it takes years, I'm not kidding you, of repetition and practice. So don't be so hard on yourself. You've got to go through the weeds. You've got to pay your dues. But we all had to pay our dues. And those artists that you see out there that you think, oh my gosh, they're so good. How did they do it? Well, nobody wakes up doing this stuff. They put their time in. So tonight, if you are sitting here and you're putting your time in, and if you are successful, wonderful. But if you are struggling, totally okay, because you're putting your time in, and that's what is most important. Okay, here, look at this. Now, here is an example of using the cartoon check. Look where I put that cheek right there. Okay. Now look at my picture, and then look at the photo. Look at my drawing, and jump your eyes back and forth. And if you jump your eyes, that little round ball, that little round area is too high. Look at that. Just go back and forth, and now you're going to be like, oh wow, this actually should be more down there. You see? More like that. All right. Look at this. Look at it up here. That's just this little curve there of her upper eyelid going around the corner. And then we can see that little bit of that cheekbone right down into her lower cheek right there. All right, let's jump to the other side here. Look, look, here it is. There's that kind of that jowl, and there's her jawline, her cheek line right there. Look at that. And then we're going to add some value here. And this whole eye area is round. It's all round. So let's make sure that we put some shadow over there. Okay, there's her chin, right? And this is gonna have some value. And we're gonna it's, I just figured out what that was. That's an ice cream cone dripping. And she's sitting there like bam, 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 bam. Why? Why does he get an ice cream and I don't? She's saying. I think that's what she wants. All right, let's come down over here. There's this, and then we'll add a little bit of value right down in here like this. Okay, let's look at our picture here, and then you look. This is awesome. This right. There's a tendon. There's a tendon that goes from behind the ears, straight down here, right into the pit of your neck. And you could see it on this picture here. Look, it's right there. You see that? That is so important to get that down. So let's see, where is that? So if we draw this line here, look, it's proportionally almost like lining up with the bottom of her mouth there. So let's remove all that. So there's this. Yeah, you know, I'll also say this, if you want a fantastic Facebook group to join, you should join our Facebook group. It's called Beginning Drawing, Learn to Draw with Kurt Aspel, and that's me. And it's a private Facebook group, so you can post your work in there and not worry whether your friends or families are going to see it. And if you want to have them see it, then you can post it on your own site if you want to. But I will put a link for that into the comments as soon as we're done with this video, so you can check that out. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's add some value here to her hair. Before we draw her hair, let's put some value in this. If I squint my eyes, I could see that this area of her hair is a little bit darker, like this. And then over here, this is darker as well. And then this is going to overlap here just a little bit. All right. Now when I draw hair, I like to use 3 types of strokes. I like to use an S curve, a straight, and a C curve. I try and keep within those 3 ideas. So like here, I have my value, some of my tone in. So looking at her hair, I'm just gonna come down here, a nice little S curve there. And I'm gonna group her hair. I'm not really thinking of like individual strands. I'm like thinking of grouping her hair in pieces. Some I put really close together, and then I kind of spread it out just a bit. And you know what I'm really demonstrating here is quick sketch. You know, it's like this is if you were going to do this more, you know, where you wanted to get every single value and everything like that, I don't know how I would draw that, because I'll tell you why. Because I don't like to draw like that. I've always been one that just wants to just get it done within an hour and then call it a day. It's just me. But you might you might want to have like hyperrealism, as you're drawing, and that's fine too if that's your cup of tea. But for me, I like this kind of fun, quick sketch approach. Okay, look at this here. Look at that shoulder right there. Where does this? Look at that. Where does that line up? Oh, it almost lines up right with her, uh, with that tear duct in her eye. So let's see. Let's come over here like this, maybe. There, right there. And then look to the other side. We kind of drew this, but then this is overlapping her shoulder over there. You see? Let's get rid of all that so you can see what I mean. Okay. And here's a great example of using, I talked about using vertical and horizontal. We just looked at cartoon check, and here is negative space. Look at this. Look at this shape, this negative shape. You see that? We could match that shape, and that will give us the position of her shoulder on the other side. So let's see how we do here. So I'm gonna kind of come around here like this, and then I'm just looking at the shape. That's all I'm looking at right now. All right, and there is that right there. This is coming down, and then right, and then on this side, look at this. She's just like this. Put some tone here. I think the picture makes her look even more sullen than what I got. And I think that's going to do it for tonight. How about that? I said we were going to draw this twice, but I don't know. As we kind of got going and started to build this up with just those basic positions of light value, like we got the positions right, and then we took those little dashes there, and then we actually started to build the form out of it. And you know what? This doesn't look exactly like the photo, but that's okay. I'm not, it's fun. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I'm not interested in doing like hyperrealism. I wanted this to be expressive. Say a story, Say a story with a line. And that's what I got for tonight. Hey, once again, thanks for watching, everyone. What do we got here? I'm going to just name everyone. Paul and Cindy, thank you. Pamela Brown and Pamela Mitoff from, Pamela is calling in from Australia. Helen, Emily, Christina. Okay, we got it. I think that's everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. Join our Facebook group. Tune in next Wednesday. We'll do another one, 7 o'clock, right here. Go out there. My name's Kurt. I'm a dad who draws. Now go out there and make your day great. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.